Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host, Vikas Rajiv. Guys, welcome to the show. And what a surprise we have today. It's the first time you're going to see Vikas Rajiv on a live video podcast, right? So, welcome, and what a special occasion we have, and special guests. And before we get into our topic and our guests, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. I had an amazing podcast today earlier with Disorganized Productions. A big shout out to Rob. That was amazing podcast. And then I have also tomorrow in the evening with the Bump podcast. And then the next one is going to be with the Firmamental podcast. And the most important one the next week, I hope it happens because it doesn't change the schedule, because can happen that it change, but most probably we are trying to do that on Jeranism, on debatism. I'll be debating Mr. Mac Toon about heliocentric versus geocentric, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And yep, so let's jump in with our co-host and our special guest here today. First, my co-host, my good brother, the star of the mechanical realm, Gene editor. Gene, how are you, brother?
Hey guys, what's up, Vic? I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for the show, bro. I know you're busy, so thanks always for the shows, man. They're always great. You never know who's going to be there and who's here tonight. Excellent show coming up, guys. So thanks everybody for coming back, and welcome to anybody that's new. Glad you're here, and like to find out how you found us. So maybe we can make sure more people like you find us, because we got a lot of important things we're covering in these shows. And tonight is just another one, and very special for a lot of reasons, right? With what Vika's got going on so much. And congratulations to all of that, Vika. I can't wait for next Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun and something to talk about on Sunday as well. So,
Oh yeah.
right. So, unconventional propulsion makes me think of what the mechanical realm reminded me of, how the narrative is going to have us think we're going to turn into the Jetsons any day, while they actually turn us into the Flintstones. And unconventional propulsion is going to be a great topic. I can't wait to hear what everybody says. So I'm not going to hog up everyone's time, guys. Welcome, and can't wait. Let's go, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. They are giving just the breadcrumbs to us, right? Everything is already invented, and yeah, we're gonna be deeping deeper in that today for sure. And our next guest, starting with Club 7, I saw his clip on Jeranism maybe a couple of weeks back, and I thought amazing video, and I thought of inviting him on our podcast to discuss some of the things he was speaking about, because it connects to also with the mechanical realm too. So I thought it would be great. And then after a couple of days back, I saw them on Eddie's channel. So that was great. So that means there is a connection and resonance happening. So we had to meet, some way or the other. And it's a great pleasure to have him. He's having a great following and amazing videos on TikTok. Club 7, brother, it's so great to have you here on our podcast, our first video podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited, man. You've done a lot of great work yourself, and I'm really loving 2024. It's been a really good year already, kicking off for the Flat Earth exposure. Seems like new discoveries have been made already this year. I mean, we're 2 months in, and already some new developments, some new dots being connected. We're all coming together. And another really cool thing is cross-platforming. So, I've been stuck over in TikTok world for the last year, and meeting Gene and other great TikTokers in the realm. And then there's been a lot of cross-platforming. A lot of the big shots in YouTube have been coming over to TikTok, and then vice versa. We've been doing a lot of things like this, just getting together. And and doing our thing. So it makes for a lot more exposure with the cross platforming and just everybody sharing the information that we've been coming across, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We all are joining forces, right? For example, my YouTube channel is not so big on YouTube, but Facebook. My page is one of the biggest page on Facebook for flat earthers. I have a couple of like videos that are almost reaching 2 million hits, just videos, right? So I also share platform with all the flat earthers who are ready to connect with us, because that's what we are for, to share the truth between all of us, right? I also, as I said earlier, that I also have some musician who approached, and we're going to be releasing a flat earth song on my platforms, all my platforms, small, big, medium, all of them, right? So that's what we all are for, right? And that it's amazing to see, right? And because also the algorithm is the AI we are fighting, right? We know exactly how they control everything with this algorithm, and we are trying to find ways to go around this algorithm, because that's the real AI problems we are facing, the fight with the AI, right? Definitely a lot of stuff to go in, brother. It's great to have you here with us. And our next guest is Gene. I didn't knew nothing about Gene, but I saw Eddie's podcast, and I would say amazing person. Should join us too with, and you both are pals. I said, come on, guys, let's chat, let's pick each other's brain, and get more juice and truth out, because everything is there, right? Nothing is can be reinvented. Nothing can be discovered. Everything is there. We just have to filter it out, right? So awesome, guys. And we're going to start with the unconventional technology that you speak about, brother. The aerial technologies. The same way, if we compare the Antikythera mechanism to any other technology, the present that they're showing us, so there's a gap of, it's not about 3 to 500 years gap of missing technology. There's a gap of 2,000-year missing technology, right? So what is already been invented, right? So where can we put this technology that we see and we think it's possible, right? So can you expand on that, brother?
Yeah, for sure. So it all started with the International Space Station. There's a lot of arguments between the flat and the globe with the International Space Station. And sometimes us, flat earthers can find ourselves kind of backed into a corner, because we'll be talking about the International Space Station. You'll have a glober come up with pictures, or videos of the thing. And we know that whatever's up there that they're looking at, it don't look to be on a balloon, but we know that thousands of satellites are launched by balloon. We know about the satelloons. I mean, Google does it, NASA does it, all the weather organizations, they put up weather balloons for satellites. But then we've got the International Space Station, and we're talking about it, and there's photos. But the problem with the photos that I've seen, and I'll share the screen for the TikTok people to see, unless you want me to try it on here. There's a little present button there.
If you can, if you want, because for me it doesn't allow from the mobile. Go ahead if it can.
Let's see if it'll let me here. I'll hit share screen, and then if I go to entire screen, and let's see, is it showing it?
Nope.
On my little face screen. Okay, so I'll just do it for the TikTok peeps. All right, so when you look at the photos of the International Space Station transiting the moon, and you compare that to an airplane transiting the moon, it's really not that big of a difference. You'll look at the two side by side, and an airplane only looks to be about 4 times the size of the International Space Station crossing the moon. You know what I mean? So that was weird to me. I'm like, okay, there's something up there, but it doesn't seem to be a football field sized thing that's 250 miles away. So
exactly.
I was
30 times further than a plane.
Right. It just makes no sense whatsoever. So the angular size is just it's all wrong. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to look into some other things. And I actually stumbled upon the unconventional spacecraft propulsion system. So there's a US patent, and it's US 2000 or 20060145019A1. And it's this triangular spacecraft that I had found. And there's a link to it right here that's called Unconventional Spacecraft Propulsion Systems. And I'm going to read just the abstract here of how this thing operates. So it says it's a spacecraft having a triangular hull with vertical electrostatic line charges on each corner that produce a horizontal electric field parallel to the sides of the hull. This field, interacting with a plane wave emitted by antennas on the sides of the hull, generates a force per volume combining both lift and propulsion. So essentially, this is a triangular spacecraft. It's an anti-gravity spacecraft, but for some reason, it uses electrostatics to fly. So now this technology isn't the unbending and warping of space-time, because you know the theory of gravity is the bending and warping of space-time. So this thing defies gravity, but uses electrostatics to do so. So then it gets your gears turning, and you start thinking, wait a minute, didn't Austin Whitsitt, didn't he formulate a new theory on gravity? Didn't he look into the electrostatic potential in the atmosphere, find out that the Earth is the ground, the negative, and then we have an equipotential increase of 100 volts per meter in the atmosphere. So every meter you go up from the ground is 100 more volts of electrostatic potential. So if this craft almost uses its technology to somewhat reverse the polarity of the atmosphere, and it hovers, it defies gravity, right? So I start looking into these, and I find out that this technology is used in some satellites. So when you look at the transit of the ISS, this is what's really funky. You look at the transit over the geodesic Earth, or the Gleason map, the flat Earth, and the path that the ISS takes just so happens to look exactly like the electromagnetic toroidal field. So if you were to take,
Exactly. Yep. I remember. It's like the seed of life.
yep,
For the geometric form, seed of life. Yeah.
yep, and if you were to take magnets and put, have you seen the ferrofluid tests where they put ferrofluid in between?
Yeah.
Two
Magnets. Right.
Yeah. So it creates that magnetic field. So this space station is following this electromagnetic field. And then you find out about these unconventional propulsion systems. And if you just take those two things, put them together, and just use your head, it almost feels like, maybe something is up there. Maybe it's not as big. Maybe it's not as far away. Maybe it's a little smaller, a little closer, and it's using this electromagnetic field to orbit.
Oh yeah, because the many globers, brother, exactly, because the many globers are so much indoctrinated about the gravity and all this stuff. So no one is going to look into this technology because they don't believe in the ether. They don't believe in the electromagnetics, and it's an ancient technology just remodeled into a more high tech, right? There are ancients who speaks about Vimanas and UFOs and all this stuff. That aerial technology was really high tech. So this is one of the thing that, as you say, was, I don't know if this document was leaked or it was a whistleblower that put it out, but this is one fraction of what else they might have, which flies, right? Okay, we have the satelloons, right? We have the spy planes, we have the pseudo satellite planes, which flies on just solar panels. Google have their own drone type of surveying, and so I've heard of people literally listening like a motor sound when ISS pass by in some parts, right? Could be in some parts they literally just, or these machines do create some kind of vibrations or sounds that sound like a different kind of motor or light or energy vibrating from it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff, it's possible that they could have more than that, even for passing the internet or connecting all the different towers so that they have the coverage all the way through, and the people think, oh, it's the satellite is that is doing it, the work, right?
Right. And most of that is most people don't even realize that a lot of our connectivity for internet's underwater cables too, you know it. And these little levitations, this electrostatic levitation that people use, that people can do, it's an at-home test. You could take two plates and charge them and make the top plate the negative and the bottom plate ramp up the voltage, the positive voltage on that, and cause little pieces of aluminum foil to levitate and things like that. And that's the ancient technology, that you were talking about. And I heard through what's his name, Stephen Greer. I watched an interview that he was talking about this ancient levitation technology that the Smithsonian had gotten their fingers on, and they're covering it up. So there's other ancient levitation technologies that are being covered up. There's a company called iPyramids, and they make toroidal fields made out of copper. These round like donuts. It looks like a stone donut, and they've engraved around it a couple of different paths, like a toroidal path around this thing. And they
I
put
saw that on your
really
video.
cool,
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Yeah.
thick
Yeah.
copper wire, and then they charge that up, and they'll hang necklaces or spherical metal balls on wiring over top of them, and fire those up, and it'll start doing that orbital path around it.
Exactly.
Just
And making
through
making that
electrostatic.
exactly the making the pattern like as you showed. That's why the reason I also wanted to discuss with you about that, because I really love that donut and the thing showing, because it's literally science. It's proving science that is the vortex of the toroidal field is creating and moving all the luminaries above in the same way. It's repeatable science.
Yeah.
It's testable science right there in a most basic way, shown how the electromagnetics work with our North Pole and the importance of the North Pole, and all the luminaries or whatever is floating have that ability to float above are doing because of that, right?
Yeah, and I can show the TikTok folks what he's talking about. These are the paths here of the luminaries right here. This is all of them. This is Earth in the center, obviously geocentric, and then here you got the sun, the moon, Venus, Mars, and they all make this it looks just like a toroidal field pattern. Some of it looks like the flower of life.
Sacred geometry, total.
Yeah,
So you gotta check it out. Check out the mechanical realm, right?
Yeah.
There is some part of that too, like which shows the stamp of the intelligent of the designer, right? The cosmic patterns, the sacred geometry, right? We aren't in chaos, right? How they want us to believe that the globers, that everything is just moving in chaos, and everything is precise, beautiful, right?
Right.
They also resemble the church windows, like that have the stained glass now, chymatics patterns in the churches.
The chymatics, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So what'd you think of that liquid oxygen being paramagnetic and interacting with the magnetic field? Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, brother. The gases in reality, what is oxygen is become gas, right? Even water, or it's just different forms, right? So definitely it can take and charge it up in a way that it looks totally blue, right? Or during the sunset, any other colors, right?
That might explain why when they're in Antarctica, that story goes when the chunks, they tried to bring it back, but it just disappeared. No vapor, no remnants of it. It was just gone.
Yeah, the sky ice.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't help but think, like, when I'm looking into this electromagnetism and the fact that liquid oxygen is paramagnetic, I can't help but imagine, like, how the temperature decreases as you go higher, right? So I can imagine this oxygen, when it gets to a certain temperature, it liquefies, and then when it gets even colder beyond that, it freezes. And if it interacts with the magnetic field, and there's this electrostatic, that electrostatics affects water. Like if you have a little stream and you you rub your feet on the carpet and get yourself all staticky, or rub a balloon on yourself, and you just put your arm up next to that flow of water,
It attract it.
It attracts to your arm. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so amazing that now these scientific discoveries are coming out that give the flat earth, you know, I obviously believe in a creator. But like even the science people who are still having trouble believing in the creator aspect of it, you know, they can look at these different discoveries and see that there's actually a scientific explanation for, you know, the firmament above.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, brother.
There's a scientific explanation for a lot of these things, but they ignore them and they overlook them and they replace them with these crazy explanations that they give us.
Yeah. Gravity, as it relates to electrostatics, it makes a lot more sense to learn that the Earth has a negative charge to it of up to 400,000 coulombs, you know, and in contrast to learned every meter from the surface of the Earth, there's a potential 1 volt charge, you know. So as we gain altitude, for every meter, it gains another 100 volts. That alone makes a lot more sense of, you know, harnessing electricity through the ether, you know, potential electricity. It also gives mass a vector, you know, it gives it a vector toward the Earth. Just like pushing a basketball underwater, the pressure will build as you push it down even further. Same thing goes for things when you throw it in the air. The more you throw it in the air, the higher it goes up, the more electrostatics are going to say, hey, you go back down to the Earth. So negatively charged.
It comes down, right?
Yeah.
And it shows that we're really surrounded by electricity too.
Oh yeah, it's an electric universe, right? Electric sun. Yeah, the electric is affecting everything in the atmosphere, right? When the sun is coming out, the daylight in itself, we see when we go above in a high altitude footage, the blue is always, or the light is always below, right? It's because these are playing the atmosphere, the light, the daylight. It's interacting when the sun is coming and it's interacting with the atmosphere, is vibrating the particles in the atmosphere, and that's what is creating the heat. That's why when we go up, it's more cold, right? Even on a sunny day on 30,000 feet, it's freezing, right?
Yeah, the
because there is no atmosphere. Yeah, because there is no atmosphere for the sun to interact with and create that. It's crazy, yeah, that how these people cannot see it, right? And they say, oh no, it's going to be a thermal, the people are going to burn up when they go up, right? It's also, they make up, that's a basic observation, anybody can do it, right? The more high you go, the colder it is.
Well, you know what, speaking of propulsion, they got the Parker space probe flying around the sun at 1.8 million degrees, and it flew through and it's going to ricochet around and come back and do it again. How are they doing that? And it made it there in such record time. That was traveling so fast, they claim. Right?
Yeah.
Parker space probe. Good one.
Man, it's ridiculous what they tell us they tell us that the International Space Station is at a steady fall. So if we're talking about orbital mechanics due to gravity, then they claim that every single object is at a slow, steady fall to Earth as it's orbiting, right? So they say that every year they have to send a shuttle up to catch up with this ISS that's going 17,000 miles per hour, catch up with it, grab it, and push it up a little bit. And then come back down to land. They say that that's what they do to keep it in orbit. And does that not sound like the most insane thing you've ever heard?
It sounds absolutely insane.
It's crazy.
You know, one of the things I like to do, Seven, is just contrast basic elements. You know, here's a circle, here's a triangle, and here's a square. You know, one fits in the other one doesn't, right? Keep it very simple. But when you think about the International Space Station, contrast that with a vessel that we experience here in the world that we live in, like an airplane possibly. Or let's even think about another vessel even underwater, a submarine. So let's apply the logic that we have to the International Space Station with these two other vessels that are, you know, I would consider common. You know, we can say we're familiar with an airplane and a submarine, but could you imagine a submarine being underwater and sending people down to it to transport oxygen and food
That's
and
good.
people and other humans? And now, could you
Food.
imagine that in an airplane? Airplanes flying. Now, are we transporting people in and out of airplanes and, you know, giving them food and oxygen? So why would we be doing that in outer space? You know, it just becomes almost a complete fantasy once you lay it out. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Right.
That's
It
got
does
comical.
not.
Yeah.
A lot of money is going in there, you know, a lot, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, because we know this,
Funnel.
that in real observation, these things are not possible at all. The speeds they are speaking about, right? As you say, you know, that even the submarines, which are $2 billion, they can repair from inside, you know. In the flat
Right.
on the curve, we
All
have
the
one guy
repairs
from
in the house.
submarine, you know, he was into submarine, and he say himself, we repair everything from inside. We don't need to go outside. What the hell these people are doing at 17,000 miles an hour with their hooks, and what are they repairing? What science are they doing? What is it really giving to the humanity, where you could say, hey man, this is amazing stuff and we should do more, we should invest more, you know? They are giving sci-fi cartoons all the time, delaying all their projects for whatever excuses. Oh, we have to figure that out in 2 more years, in 2 more years, 5 decades, guys. What the hell? Where have you gone? What have you done? You know, Mars, yeah, images of Mars, like a flying helicopter. Now the moon is in the atmosphere, you know. It's so much of bullshit, and the globers are digesting it from past 5 decades, and they're going to continue. Why? Because there's so much indoctrinated. They can't see, because if they know the truth, they know all their whatever they used to think all their life is just for nothing. Like they were all blinded all the time. All the degrees, all these PhDs and all these astrophysics, they are not defending the globe. They are defending their PhDs and their diplomas. That's what they're defending. Because if that goes down, their whole thing goes down, you know? And we know how it sells, the sci-fi, the space, how this sells, right? In every way. So even the pages on Facebook or any other place, the sharing just cartoons, you know, and they're making a lot of revenues with these indoctrinated sheeps, you know.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone when I watch those spacewalks you was talking about, because you mentioned they're clipping and stuff. Like if you really, I've sat there and watched 8 hours of a spacewalk, and literally it's 8 hours of a whole bunch of nothing. They're just walking around tinkering. They'll unhook a hook and hook it back, and dude, I've even watched them fake crank stuff. Like they weren't really actually cranking what they had their tool on. I'm like, they're not doing anything.
And you could barely recognize any land masses, and the speed doesn't seem to match what they say. They're traveling 17,000 miles an hour, and what do they circle the Earth every 45 minutes, or is it 90 minutes?
90.
90. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like that. And here's something else too. When they have an app or a website, you can put your zip code in, and it'll let you know when you can see the space station. And you can only see it at night. So how does it light up at night? They got lights on the outside of that thing?
And the speed, exactly, and the speed it speaks about, brother, it should zip through the sky in a second.
Yeah. Bro, it's not like that. It's like a really fast plane, maybe. It's pretty quick, and there's something up there. You can find it too if anybody's interested. It's called spotthestation.com. That's one I used to get. But I'm sure there's
Yes.
others.
And that's why it was complete accident. So honestly, I had a dream, man. I had a dream about these triangular spacecrafts, and I was like, I wonder if anyone's seen, I've heard of triangles being seen in the sky. So that's what I was looking up, and I came across some government UFOs basically, because Werner von Braun, he had already. What's up, Keith? Werner von Braun had already he had stated that they'd been planning this extraterrestrial threat thing, So I was looking into that. I was like, I wonder if government already have craft ready to go, So I'd looked up some videos, and this guy had caught this triangular spacecraft doing a test flight at the TR-3B or whatever it's called. And so then I started doing patent searches and digging through patents, and that's when I found that unconventional spacecraft propulsion. Then to find out that it uses electrostatics to fly. Of course, you take 1 + 1 still equals 2, because Whitsitt has been talking about that's the more viable formula for gravity is electrostatics, buoyancy, and density. And it does actually, it surpasses Einstein's theory of relativity, because the theory of relativity isn't falsifiable nor verifiable. You can't scale that. You can't test that. It's not the scientific method coming up with that theory. So now, I mean, I've come to the conclusion that something's up there, but I'm thinking it's orbiting through that electromagnetic field rather than using the bending and warping of space time to orbit a globe.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, it's just too much of fakery that we all can see it very clearly, but the people are enjoying it. It's the same like the wrestling, right? As we speak about, everybody knows it's fake, but everybody's enjoying, and all the bullshit that they're presenting the controllers, right? Hey, and finally we have our brother Keith here. Keith, how are you, brother?
What's up, guys? How are you? I just want to stop by and say hi. Yeah, man, your little research down the rabbit hole there is pretty significant, I think. I've talked to people about the ISS all the time. One of my friends who first got me into flat Earth years ago, in fact, he's on the ODD TV, one of the original videos from a long time ago, like Granada Beach, showing the lighthouse in Ponce Inlet. And one of his main hangups was the ISS. He goes, I just can't figure that out. I see it. I've watched it myself. And, the best I could come up with is that it's a high altitude aircraft, 10 to 15 miles away, flying maybe 1,000 to 1,500 miles per hour. Now, that's just me. That's my opinion. I mean, I don't think any of us really know exactly what it is. Of course, NASA does, but they're not going to tell us. But that discovery you made of electrostatics, having propulsion on a triangular vehicle, and who knows how they could mock it up once they get the triangle going. But I think what you discovered is significant for the flat Earth community. So I'm all in, just getting ready to dive into that more. And also I'm gonna do a plug here, guys. Eddie Alencar, I'll be on with him at 8:00 Eastern tonight. So maybe when you guys are wrapping up. But see, this is what's cool about flat Earth. You never know what's coming next. I mean, none of us last week, hey, there's going to be electrostatic UFOs that we know about now. I mean, I didn't know that a week or two ago. But your research down the rabbit hole, just, we're learning. That's what's fun about this. We're learning something new all the time. And I'm years deep in this now and still learning things now that I didn't know 6 months ago. So it's just a fun journey.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome, Keith, man. You're a legend, bro. I seen you. Dave ran into you. I was watching Jaron's show when he was covering the Greg Locke debate. He was there in live person, wasn't you, man? Dave walked up to you, and you were there in real time, man. You're a legend out here. I've seen a lot of your videos. You do make some great stuff, man. So it really means a lot, man. Thank you. I don't know where you went. You went dark.
Oh, he's back. I love it when Keith smash the Globers and then he laughs. I love that. That one. I love it. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the reason, Keith. I wanted Club 7 and Gene to pass by here, because I really like that concept of that, because it's proving what we are trying to prove too, with the Antikythera mechanism and the North Pole and how everything else move, right? So it it's real science to back it up, right? What do the Globers have, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, when it comes to ever contrasting with someone that's a globe believer, I like to keep the conversation simple. I like to simply ask them, or if we contrast back and forth, can we both agree that our conversation should consist of conversations that are supported by the scientific method? Because anything else is speculation. Can we agree on that? And, once you can kind of get a globe believer to commit to the scientific method, it really takes a lot of their beliefs away. Because a lot of it is just, pseudoscience, from gravity to, warping, bending space-time. And then after I really get them to understand, like, you have to apply something that's repeatable, testable, demonstratable. We have to be able to teach this and see it with our eyes and replicate it. A lot of it disappears, and then I start to bring them to just the conversation. Let's try not to get too far off, because the sky is important. But if we don't understand how much the earth curves, then we could be talking about two different objects dimensionally. We need to come to some agreement. So I usually step into, how much does the earth curve? How much does it curve per mile? Let's get that out of the way, so we can at least understand that we're looking at the same object. But at the end of the day, once you get to that point, I mean, a couple different things for me. We can see too far, and radar is another one. Radar can't work on a globe. It's just physically impossible. Yeah, and for me, that the conversation's done at that point. I think that's really an eye opener. I only started looking into flat Earth because of all of the negative, influencers out there, that are making content about flat Earth. Like, why are these guys making this content? This is actually kind of strange. I actually want to look into it more. Well, thank you. You guys opened me up to a different world. Thanks for making me look.
Oh yeah, brother, that's the real science there with those technologies, and as I said, with the flat of the curve really deals in with that in depth and shows. And the other thing is this, brother, also, right? The people think that it's not important for us to prove them wrong, because no diploma, no degree can make the earth curve or make the water bendy, right? We know the earth is flat. Once we open to flat earth, we know it's flat. In reality, we don't need to prove to anybody else. We know it, we believe in it, we see it, we perceive it, right? But where is the problem with the globe earth believers? Their whole pseudoscience doesn't work here. Their pseudoscience works up in the sky, right? So if we can show them that the earth is not heliocentric, it's geocentric, right? And geocentric doesn't mean the earth is a ball or it's spinning, right? Geocentric just means that the sun is not the center, right? Because all their fakery, the gravity, the black hole, the dark matter, and all their fake science and all their Hubble and going everywhere and all their space mission, everything is right there, because they know nobody can go there and debunk this, right? So flat or round, I think it's important, but for me it goes on third. Flat or round, for me, it's my view, brother. I respect everybody's view, but this is the thing: the importance is heliocentric or geocentric, and then automatically we know that it's stationary or non-stationary, because depending on what is up. So the relation between the ground and the sky is important, because they're interrelated to prove each other, right? For example, if without the sun and the moon, we wouldn't know how the day and night happens. The way the sunlight falls on the earth shows that it's flat. We cannot see the flatness in the night. We can see the flatness in the day, right? We can see how flat it is, right? So I think the same like that, if we have the sun and the moon, then we have the luminaries, right? And how the season works on the flat earth is also proved by these luminaries. And it's important for us to show them that it's not far away in space, lost. They are near to us. The frequencies of all these luminaries, the sun, the moon, that is affecting us on a daily basis. Sun gives us the light, right? The moon, the magnetics, right? We need the both, right? All the frequency of different luminaries is affecting us. We are born in different signs, we have different numbers. We have all different cycles, right? So also, apart from that, the seasons, you have the astrology, you have the navigation, the stars, the constellations, the calendars. It's so much things involved with the sky for us to prove that it's not a globe, right? I think, my opinion, brother, and I totally understand that people have idea that just because you're seeing the ceiling, the flat, the earth have to be round too, right? As in the meme we speak about, like the difference. But I think we should look into it in a way that it's where we can take these people by their right,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. And I guess that's been my pocket to get my conversation started. If we're gonna have the debate about the shape of the Earth directly, if it's flat or curved, we should at least dimensionally understand. And you are correct. Getting into the detail of understanding. There's 13 moons every year. There are 28 days.
Proves a lot of exactly,
Yeah,
brother. It's so
yeah,
much deeper. The more we dig, the more we know, brother. The more we
yeah.
truth comes out and in our favor to destroy the globe more deeper. The astrology, how precision it works as a wheel above. How these people are doing these observations, the angles with the luminaries, the Polaris in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And how these cycles are moving and how these people are doing that timekeeping from hundreds or thousands of years,
Yeah.
and it's like a clock, right? So I think it's more important, just my view, brother, it's more important than
No,
for me
absolutely.
than because water doesn't need any proof, the land doesn't need any proof, right?
Yeah.
As I said, because they have they have hidden the words like flatlands, tablelands, grasslands, steppe, right? Uh, Mud floods, salt flats, uh, depressions, prairies, tundras, all means flat. You know, continuous flatlands, right? And then we have the water. So it's already been proved. But yeah, we could always debate, and people could always debate about, because this is the thing that's why the people also many get triggered, because the word flat triggers them, and they want to say, these people are stupid. They believe in flat earth, this, that, So if we can go geocentric versus heliocentric, automatically the earth becomes stationary, automatically the earth becomes flat, because once we show them that the earth is the center and that the sun is just one of the luminaries which is floating around the north pole because of that magnetic field, the importance of the north pole in all the culture, and the way this donut is showing that real science, making those patterns, and each of these luminaries have their own patterns, right? And they are doing that for thousands of years, and
Yeah.
it continues happening. So it proves our cosmology, and we have all the cosmologies to support us. We have all the texts to support us. We have all the technology to support us, right? All the constructions that is there, that is been lined up with all these constellations and all this with the Polaris. It shows how accurate is the geocentric stationary earth model. That's what it shows.
Yeah, Vika,
It's
I have watched Mechanical Realm 3 or 4 times now. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times when I'm driving around, and it really wasn't until a couple months after the documentary that was released that I started understanding the importance of what you're saying right now, that geocentric is really more important and it's a deeper level than just flat or curved. Flat or curved, people who can't use reason and logic and common sense, they're going to argue that until the day they die. But if you can start realizing that geocentric is reality, that everything in the sky goes around the North Pole, but over the North Pole, it all goes around Polaris, but under Polaris, that geocentric conversation takes the whole flat Earth conversation, I think, to a deeper level. And like you said, we have all of history, every ancient culture to back us up with that belief or with that observation that we have today.
I
oh
love
yeah,
that.
oh yeah.
Guys, without the curve, there's no evidence of anything showing that we live on a 25,000 mile circumference ball. Like, nothing shows divergence. No buildings. They're all built plumb level, perpendicular to the plane. Like if you see a cloud that's pouring rain 20, 30 miles away in Florida, it should show some sort of divergence, right? To show that it's further away. It should be crooked. Nothing's ever crooked. So
Exactly.
if you're not going to see the curve, where's the evidence of it? And where's the evidence of the sphere? And there's none of that either.
I was making an observation yesterday. It was pretty cloudy here in the state of Michigan, where I live, and it was probably close to noon, maybe a little afternoon, and I was looking at the clouds, and it's just so easy to tell that the sun is local. You can look at the clouds on the right side of the sun, and they're highlighted on the left side. You know, if I were an artist, I'd be highlighting that because the sun's beaming on it from that angle. You look to the left-hand side, the clouds are highlighted on the right side. And you look beyond where the sun in the distant horizon, and you can see the clouds are lit up as they would be if the sun were local. And then look behind yourself one day, and you'll realize like the clouds look completely different. So from 4 different viewpoints, it just simply looks like a lamp shining down, and it's just so simple. I mean, if we were to apply the logic of a sun being 94 million miles away, then we would have to visually be under the impression that the clouds were millions of miles away in order to have this type of angle, of light. So
Exactly.
yeah,
But Gene,
it's again that simple.
that's the years of indoctrination that we get sent through, as and they want us in younger and younger, and we're getting hit harder and harder. So it's hard to we were saying last week that we're fighting a lot of indoctrination and a lot of television, and people have real deep heart connections to these movies and these people that are promoting this stuff. So it's a really hard nut to crack sometimes. But there's so many angles. We do have a standing chance to get everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. Evelyn Galt is in the chat. Yeah, Evelyn, you can jump in.
Evelyn.
Totally, if you want, we are here. And the other thing, Gene, brother, is also the eclipses. The eclipses also shows that the Earth is flat, because these people are telling us that the Earth is in the middle and the shape. We have so much already gone deeper in this, and if we can show them that it's not the Earth what is in the middle, or whatever it is, that it's not the Earth, also destroys their model. If we also show them that it's geocentric and not heliocentric, and the same thing goes for the solar eclipses, the same thing goes for the phases, the same thing, because there's a lot of science there which could be proved what is really the reason for the phases, the real reason for the eclipses, and the forms of the two, right? The orbits they have above and the plane below with the magnetic north. So for sure, brother, it opens up a much more other dynamics of covering the topic, and you have much more arsenal in a way to show the reality, right? It's amazing stuff, and we know that the ancients have been
Yeah,
navigating the earth.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right with one of the things I learned with the eclipse is the shadow, number one. You never see a shadow
Too
smaller than the original object, and then we
Exactly.
see the shadow move from west to east on the plane, right? It's moving from west to east, not east to west like the luminaries move.
Right.
So that's a contradiction in the model immediately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Another
Oh yeah,
one.
and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, another one is that when you get back to that geocentric conversation, you can start talking more about the size of the sun and the moon, and the pictures that you showed, transiting between the Earth and the moon. Well, if you show pictures of airplanes transiting between the Earth and the sun, and airplanes transiting between the Earth and the moon, the sun and the moon are exactly the same size. If you put a solar filter on a telescope, the sun takes up the exact same amount of space in the lens that the moon takes up. So the sun and the moon being the same size, for me lately, has been the next step of that conversation after geocentric. And then we start getting into the topography and then the levelness of the water. But the conversation is developing. I think Austin said this in one of the debates recently, that there's a whole new generation of flat earthers coming up that are way more knowledgeable on the physics of the earth than people who believe in the heliocentric nonsense. So this 2023 was cool, but 2024 is going to be really cool with all the knowledge things that are coming out.
I
Oh yeah,
agree.
brother. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Another point to prove that the sky is important. Go ahead, brother. Club Seven. You want to add something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, the geocentric. I like looking at it from that angle because history, man. I mean, history tells a story that the Globers they have to deny. It seems like we've even got Justin Trudeau having a speech that he's prepared where he goes public. I mean, I've actually found this speech in more than one place, but he goes public and says that flat earthers fascinate him. He says this is a brand new phenomenon. He goes as far to say that no one in history has ever believed that the earth was flat, and this is a brand new phenomenon, and people are just getting together and they decided to, you know, that the earth was flat, and they find things that prove that to themselves, completely denying history, like completely denying the fact that all ancient depictions of earth was a topographical plane with a firmament. And then whenever you say the word geocentric, I also see a lot of Globers saying geocentric means globe. Now, what I have to tell them is, yeah, the first globe model was geocentric, but the first geocentric model was not a globe, you know? So it's so weird to me that they deny history altogether just to, and that right there, to me, it's poison in the well. I mean, it's probably like five fallacies in one, but it's just weird to me. Like, if geocentrism, if flat Earth is so dumb, then let it be dumb on its own. Don't deny history. Stop denying history. Stop creating straw man models. Stop lying. Let us have a case. Stop making hit pieces. Stop being disingenuous about the conversation. That's what is really going to be the downfall of the Globers this year, is their blatant denial of history, their blatant denial of the science, the facts, because it looks bad. Like
Holy moly.
if I was on the fence right now watching a discussion and seeing a Glober flat out lie about history, I would be like, wow. And it would make me want to look into it more. If I wasn't in this discussion, was just a bystander on the fence sitting over there, it's so disingenuous, and they're afraid of the geocentric model because they know it's historically viable. It's got a lot of neat elements to it.
This is the thing, brother. Geocentric term is not owned by these people because geocentric doesn't exist in their physics. Because what is there in the word geocentric that speaks about sphericity or the curve of the earth? There's nothing. There's just a two word geocentric. Geo is earth and center is centric, is nothing saying, and they cannot have a geocentric model in their physics because the earth is too small in their model for the huge sun to move around it. It doesn't exist. Geocentricity doesn't exist in their model, in their physics. Doesn't exist. Geocentric is our model, and the only difference is that it's rotating above us on the North Pole. That is geocentric, right? The electromagnetic of the energy of the Earth and the sky. The Earth have a stronger geomagnetic energy. That's why everything is moving around us in the North Pole, right? So that is geocentric, the real meaning of geocentric. These people say, oh, the Greeks thought the earth was a sphere or geocentric. They still think the earth is a ball. No, it's not working in your physics. The ball cannot have, the earth cannot have so much mass that a huge sun 500 times bigger than is going to rotate around Earth. What size is? What about the other luminaries, right? It's not going to work. So the geocentric term is our term, and they try to put that aesthetic globe in the middle because they tried doing that, but the calculations are not going to work. The maths is not going to work. The arithmetics are not going to work because it only works in a geocentric. And once we know that it's geocentric, once it's proved that it's geocentric, that the devices like Antikythera mechanism prove that it's geocentric, then it's stationary too, because the relation of the movement between up and down changes, right? If we know if it's geocentric, up is moving, not the base, not the floor, right? So we also are proving that it's stationary in the same time, right? So I think the flat earth community needs to expand on in this term more and use it term more. And we are not using the globe in that thing. There is nothing to do with the globe in the term in geocentrics, right? So I think it can clear a lot for people to that they can expand on it on more in a right way, explaining our model, right? We are no one to create this model, right? This model has been working. This is Atlantean technology that has been working for more than 20,000 years. We are nobody, no race in the past 5,000 years can claim this to be their technology, right?
Really?
Because there's so much of information, the cycles that goes within these technologies, some goes to 5 to 6 to 10,000 years could go, because that's the precision of these cycles that is they have been put in, right? It's not possible for these globals to come against something like this with real maths, like a real scientific instrument, right? That it's there, and I think we should all expand on it and spread it so that the people know, because people are having hard time understanding this, because the controllers made sure whenever they speak about the anti-Kitra mechanism, they say we don't know what it is, we don't know what it does, we are trying to figure out. They know bloody hell what is really this, what is that instrument, what is it doing, right? They had it all
Damage
our time.
control. That's what
20
they
years,
mean.
right? Exactly, 20 years it was in front of us, nobody saw that, right?
True.
Yeah, now the average glober doesn't know what the anti-kith mechanism is, because I talk to people about it all the time now, and they're like, "What? What is that?" And I grabbed a screenshot off Google today, actually, and said, "Is this what you're talking about?" I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Do you know what that is? Do you know what it does?" And most of the regular globers don't know. Now, scientists,
Piper.
That's your bird. I was saying, what the hell
Yeah.
was that sound?
That's my bird.
Awesome.
No,
She's
even he
going
has a
nuts.
bird. Do I see a bird, or am I hallucinating? Yeah, you
She's
got a
out.
bird on your. Yeah.
She's out there in her cage going ballistic.
what kind is it?
All guests are welcome.
But yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's what they don't want to. That's what they don't want us to bring up, man. When they, and it's always the anti-Kathir mechanism. It always gets brought up when people. Oh, you got a bird! Oh my god, I didn't have the screen up, dude. Awesome, bro. Yes, dude. So yeah, they say you can only make predictions with the heliocentric model. Then you bring up anti-Kathir mechanism, and their eyes glaze over because they're like, because then you've just debunked them and proven that historically the geocentric had been making far more accurate predictions for far longer. And that's the big thing, man. Denying our model. They deny that the geocentric topographical plane with the firmament and all the luminaries moving right, directly above that. They deny that model. They act as if we just made it up this year or something. They act like it's so brand new, and it's not brand new. We're talking about history here. We're keeping the OG Earth alive is what we're doing.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's ancient.
Things we need to find out is we need to find out the name of the company or the guy that allegedly makes all the predictions for NASA. Allegedly, NASA hires one guy to do all the eclipse projections for them. Well, gee, I wonder what
You don't need too many people.
he's using. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's common sense to all of us, but you can't, have a geocentric model predicting eclipses perfectly and a heliocentric model predicting eclipses perfectly. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, which one's older?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the heliocentric model, even if they try to replicate it with that technology, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because you just change one gear. Exactly, but you change one gear, one teeth in one of the gear in the whole mechanism, everything is gonna block. Everything, nothing is gonna work. That's the precision, and they cannot. Yeah,
The accuracy was a half a second a year. It was either off, or I'm kind of wonder if that was also built in, and we just haven't figured that half a second a year out. maybe that could be a totally different cycle.
Good question. Very good question.
Thank you.
At that
What do you guys
point,
think of the clock in Prague?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, 1,400 years old.
1400. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Yeah, it's just the more uh, another setup, but doing the same things, telling the time, telling the hour, telling the eclipses, telling the equinoxes, the solstice. That also helps
Solar.
us. Yeah, that also helps us in predicting, improving the sky, right? The solstice and and the equinoxes, because these are cardinal points. It's going to work on a realm, a flat realm. Yeah, how you going to have those cardinal points and that precision that repeats every year, right? Coming to that point with all the other ancient constructions, they line up perfectly, right, on a particular dates, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
like
The
you said,
antique,
Yeah.
if one tooth is missing from one gear, there's dozens of gears. One tooth missing one of those gears, it doesn't work. How
it's
ridiculous!
not gonna work. Yeah, they can put all their wealth and try to create a replica. It's not going to work. It's not going to. It looks like a dial, it looks like a clock. How simple it, how obvious it has to be for the people to see and realize that's our model, right? And as you say, many are gonna now they won't know what is Antikythera mechanism. They don't wanna know because it's gonna destroy their whole belief, of all these years that they've been carrying around with the globe Earth. Yeah.
You
The
know, guys,
Antikythera mechanism. Yeah, go ahead.
if somebody, collectively walked off with that information and they could still be around, you'd think there's a civilization here 1,400 years more advanced than us. I think there's distinct possibility that could be true.
I think you're right. Like it, at least that's a possibility. Aliens
Absolutely. I
are
wouldn't wipe it off the table by any means.
right.
Which brings us to unconventional levitation and propulsion, doesn't
There
it?
you
Right?
go. Breakaway.
And it's funny that all these avenues are connecting too with that, because I watched a Stephen Greer interview, and they were he didn't use the word electrostatic, but he did use ancient levitation technology, and he said that the Smithsonian. So the Smithsonian seems to get their hands on everything that's historic, and he said that the Smithsonian actually was covering it up. They weren't allowing the public to know about this technology. And he said the reason being is because the Smithsonian was afraid that they would crumble the foundations of religious belief. But
Wow.
you see, I'm going to have to call BS on that, because if the Smithsonian wanted to solidify religious belief and didn't want the foundations to crumble, then they would be putting giant skeletal remains on display in their museum, because that right there proves biblical text. I mean, we're talking giants. Okay, cool. Now you got skeletal remains, but no, instead the Smithsonian swoops in on any paleontologists that have discovered giant human remains,
100%.
and then they stow them away. Okay, so if we're talking ancient technology, you know what it would prove? It would prove a lot of the angelic, the Nephilim, the fallen, that stuff like that. That's what I believe it would prove is the fallen angel kind of aspect of, like the Book of Enoch and things like that. But it all connects together. And with this technology, it's weird that they don't put it out there. But what other technologies do they not give us? What about the guy who had the vehicle that ran on water? He disappeared, and then that technology gets scrubbed up and hidden. It's almost as if the controllers, the rulers, don't want us to have a more efficient life, a more, clean, free energy and all these things. And I believe that the geocentric Earth, and if we knew just, a little bit more in depth about these constellations and where they sit above us, I believe that there's an energetic field to be tapped into. And I think that those who know the clock we live on know a little bit more about that, and they might be hiding that from us as well. there might be frequencies, patterns, certain seasons, times that we need to be doing certain things, and or even as simple as being outside at a certain time, to where we can harness certain energies that they might be hiding from us because of the clock, because of how this timepiece works that we live on. I don't know.
Nah, Gene, you're 100% right on, brother. These last
That was
weeks,
Club 7, brother.
what's that?
That was Club 7. Yep.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
7 Club.
sorry. All right. No, you're right on, bro. Because last week
7.
we were talking. Keith was on a fasting diet for that he celebrates his birthday with, and Vika brought up when the moon is in the right positions is a really, really good time to do a fast once a month. And you're right that they're keeping the secrets of what the messages in the sky are. They're keeping those messages from us. And think about what the creeps at the Vatican have so much interest in that telescope Lucifer. What is their interest in the sky? Because it is supposed to be telling us messages,
Right.
in many, many ways.
Exactly, and the daytime saving, the way they manipulate us with that 1 hour change, it affects the psyche, it affects the bio clock within, you know, it's and that's what they're
That's
doing two
well
time a
known.
year, just to avoid us from the precision of these luminaries. And we know the sun is the giver of life. We love it. If the sun won't come out 3 days, man, if it doesn't come out a day, I'm like, so you imagine if it doesn't come out, or the moon, or all these different constellation, as you say, brother, like they have, connection to us. We are sun signs, we are born in an horoscope, the scope of Horus. The day we are born, the Horus, the sun. That's why it's called the sun sign. We all are the suns, right?
Yeah.
Born in a particular
It's good to know your
point in
rising
that
and your moon
dial.
sign.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because as I was saying, that even if we see at the birth charts, if you look at a birth chart, it looks like a dial. It looks like a top of an Antikythera mechanism.
It does.
Exactly. If you see the wheel of Ezekiel, or the wheel of the constellation, it's all looks like wheels inside gears. If you see about the Mayan calendars, you see those are gears like wheels into wheels, right? Which are moving. When we speak about those that Google had for their algorithms, all those gears together.
Right.
For the last gear to turn, it needs infinity, right? So how they can keep track of anything they wanted with those gear, right? And it's amazing. And others speak about technology, like the organic technology, brother, a lot. The electric, they want to believe, tell us that the electric is bad, the copper is bad. Nikola Tesla was working with electrics for curing. There are stuff that was used to that are out there which speaks about curing with electricity, right? We are electric beings, right? The sun is electric. Yeah, the toroidal field within us, the electromagnetics, so that works with the electricity, right? When the electricity is gone, we are gone.
Yeah.
That's what
What?
moves. Yep, go ahead, brother.
Think about the narrative story about electricity and Ben Franklin flying a kite in a storm. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. That is pretty funny.
You consider the material the kite was made out of was silk, very absorbent, and that story like kind of goes down the drain with the rain. It's a little impossible, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
And you know what, Seven? You were talking about that triangular. The triangular propulsion box or whatever it was, right? And I think I've seen a video where they have something like a box kite hooked up to an electric current, and they were floating it around a little bit. But I think it might have been on wires. But they were kind of hinting towards that. And I remember seeing that on like Discovery or Science Channel years ago. So
Yeah.
are you familiar with that? You probably are. It's out there.
Possibly. I think what's crazy about that unconventional spacecraft propulsion is that Austin Whitsitt, he did an experiment where he did electrostatic levitation, and he took these two Gaussian plates and he would reverse the polarity when we're looking at Earth, Earth is the ground. That's why it's called ground, right? And then he talks about the electromagnet or the electrostatic potential in the atmosphere. It rises 100 volts per meter as you go up. So it's each meter is 100 more volts. Yeah. So it's 100, 200, 300, and it keeps rising. So he'll scale that down, right? He'll have his negative and positive, but then he'll reverse the polarity and have his negative plate on top, his positive on the bottom, crank that voltage up and put little pieces of aluminum foil in the center between those, and they'll levitate, right? So then we're looking at those spacecrafts, and when you read the abstract of the spacecraft, what it does is it's got, here it is, and it's got these line charges, these electrostatic parts here in each corner, and it'll shoot out and create a plane wave underneath of it, and that ramps up the voltage. So it's almost like it's serving as a plate, and then the plane wave that it emits serves as a plate, and then it ramps up the voltage on this plane wave here, and that's what lifts this thing up. So it's creating an electric field below it, and then that'll lift it and propel it. So it's weird to me. I'm wondering if the atmosphere does increase like that, I wonder if once you get to a certain point, if the electrostatic in the atmosphere is so high, the voltage is so high at a certain altitude that anything that can be charged almost just levitates just because it's in that much voltage. I don't know though. It's just something to think about, and that's why I kind of want to get this little tiny bit of research to Witsit, so maybe he can use some of it with his theory, and maybe figure out some more about these things in the sky.
Oh yeah. You want to add something, brother Gene, before we continue?
Oh no, I'm great. That was a great explanation, Sam. Appreciate that.
Like the bee, levitation of bee, I don't know what's there's another way of levitation, right? The resonance and how these people, how the wings are vibrating at a particular frequency, which creates that resonance that they can levitate and just fly with. So it's possible. So if an organic thing is doing it, that technology could be more easier, right? In a way to do something like a craft, right? There might be some science taken from there also, because we learn also from the nature a lot, right? We copy a nature a lot.
That's a good point, dude, because when I learned that bumblebees don't really use their wings to fly, I was blown away. Yeah, you're right, man. They vibrate and somehow create this bubble around them, and it causes them, they're more levitating than they are actually using their wings to fly, I've heard. And they may even use electrostatics to fly. I don't know what it is exactly how they fly, but you're right, man. There is a strange technology with bumblebees, because it's actually impossible with their body size and weight and the size of their tiny wings. It's actually, they say it's physically impossible that a bumblebee is flying using only its wings. We should look into that further.
The spiders seem to do it too somehow, some way. Yeah. The spider web
when they're ballooning
for miles and miles and miles.
Yeah, I think you're right, dude. I think they throw their web up in the air, and it interacts with the electrostatics in the atmosphere, and it carries them away or something. It's crazy.
And it could be similar to what we witness with clouds. Clouds, clearly, if we're going to say mass is attracted to mass, which has obviously been superseded, but the ideal of water molecules suspended in the sky makes a lot more sense when you think about, electrostatics being the cause of it.
Oh yeah, brother. And this is the thing, also the vibration, no? Because I think it's also about getting onto that vibration, and things could happen magically, because even the bees, why does the honey doesn't get spoiled is because the bees are vibrating their wings at a particular frequency. It's supposed to be very healing. People could literally just go, I'm not saying go next to a beehive. You can listen to an audio too. That frequency can help us heal. So it makes the honey last forever, right? So there have to be some science behind it that these people are hiding from us, right? About those frequencies and how the things work, as you take as a nutrition or a medicine or
Or a
a,
preservative. Imagine that if bees could be like a preservative for food.
And
Just,
speaking
just a,
speaking of healing frequencies, I used to work for an Eastern medicine doctor, so I'm not speaking on his behalf, but I learned a lot working with him. And one of the things he used to do was he would heal people with frequencies, and there are certain frequencies that heal. There are certain frequencies that actually disrupt.
yeah,
So
440.
yeah. So even a virus per se, there's a certain frequency, and
exactly.
forgive me for not knowing this to a T, but there's a certain frequency that disrupts viruses in their replication and their existence, for that matter. I found that phenomenal to learn such a thing, and then now, obviously, in 2024, I'm in this different adventure of learning and experiencing what frequencies are and how they relate. Another thing I found fascinating is all the bells in America have been removed. Once upon a
Exactly.
time, they were very prominent. And it just leans a little bit more into the ideal, of course, that those were taken away for a purpose, for a reason. So
Yeah, those are more preventative and healing centers, I think, right? With the right harmonics and the church windows and the pipe organs. The world was a different place when these machines and these places were more active.
yeah, definitely.
And yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
know
go ahead.
I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna go get for Eddie. But thanks for letting me
Oh,
hang out for a little. See you guys soon.
Have a
welcome,
good day,
brother.
brother.
See you later. Oh yeah, the frequencies with the sound can create magic, right? Can Apart from healing us, it can even make us, how do you say, interdimensional uh, travel. If you want time travel, it's possible too. Sounds very sci-fi, but it's absolutely possible, right?
Mhm.
We are organic beings. Like telepathy is just one of the extra senses that we have, right? And we have those five senses that we all know about. Maybe some have sixth, right? But the human is much more capable of using the 100% of the brain, right? And there could be tools, organic or technology, which could help us in exploring and seeing things that which normally it's difficult to see, right? Also, it's kind of a technology, right? It's totally possible, and connecting us to the creation, right? Because everything sometimes looks very artificial, very fake, right? So maybe some technology can help us see the divine or the light, and yeah, just few thoughts on that.
I
Well,
wish they,
Tesla said it too, though, right, guys? Energy, frequency,
yeah,
vibration.
yeah. If you want to know about reality, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I think they need to have the consciousness topic more, man. Look, here's what's crazy, and what I've learned over the years is we have spiritual gifts, man. When you think about certain things about our consciousness, like intuition, you can't explain intuition. You can't map it on a brain wave. Like if you were to put a cap on to read your brain activity, you wouldn't be able to pinpoint
Doesn't register.
intuition, but that's a real thing. You know what I mean? Like we get these feelings, these senses. Our consciousness is so amazing and unexplainable, and it's like it seems that nobody's talking about consciousness, man. Nobody's talking about just the magnitude of that and the exploration of it. And if modern science is exploring the consciousness more, well, they're not publicizing it because I'm not seeing anything any huge developments on the front page of any papers. They're not talking about consciousness in the way that I feel we need to. There's so many unanswered questions. And I think that the reason being is I think modern science has actually gotten a lot closer to spirituality than they care to admit. And that's honestly what I think the quantum physics are. I think the quantum studies are actually, they're getting so close to spirituality that they're afraid to admit it because they're coming from a naturalist, materialist worldview. So it's like you can't really admit, like I seen Neil deGrasse Tyson talking to a guy that had found actual computer code in our DNA. And when he found the code, basically his discovery, if you were to put it all in a nutshell, it was, hey, I found out through genetic code that we're actually intelligently designed, but being a scientist on, the front lines, talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson at a seminar in front of people being publicized on TV, they had to look at it in a different perspective. And instead of admitting intelligent design, it seems now that the modern science community is saying that we're in a simulation. Like they would say that we were in a simulation before they would admit that we were created and that we have a creator. And that to me is like a cop out. That to me is a way of, we discovered that there is a creator, but we've got to explain it in the most material way possible. And it's just strange to me, the whole thing.
Well, but you know what? That backs them in a corner, though, too, doesn't it? Because if it's a simulation, then somebody made a simulation.
Right, but see,
Still
they're
a
going to
creator.
come at it. Right, and I agree, but I think they're going to go more the alien route. I think before they would go, which I mean, hey, who am I to say? The whole thing does sound pretty alien, the whole idea of a creator and everything. I mean, it does, and it would be alien to us. But I think they're going to try to spin it like, oh, there's
Outer
these
space alien.
Yeah, outer space aliens from Mars.
Right, that's the thing.
Brother, adding to what you said, in Buddhism, because all different cultures, all different cosmologies have their own way of connecting the divine, and even also in Hinduism, maybe it's here or in different cultures, another word for it. It's called Maya. Maya is the web of life, right? The Maya, we could call it as the illusion of life. Like everything is material, everything is connected to one other, right? So the whole existence, according to Buddhism, is a illusion. So what these science guys have done, that it's converted this illusion into a simulation, right? Describing the same way in a technical way that it sounds very scientific, right? But it's just the divine and his creation, what we are trying to grasp, what we are trying to understand, right? If someone thinks it as an illusion or as a simulation, but we have to see that we are in this three-dimensional right now, as a three-dimensional being with matter, and and we know there is more to it, right? As you say, with intuition, with deja vu, with contacts, with different ways, right? And people could reach to a point where people see that really we are not material, and this whole thing could be a illusion, like a dream, right? This life could be a dream, and maybe once we wake up from here, that's the real one, or the higher self, or connecting more closer to the source, right? Whatever is the way you want to see it, right? But they're trying to just explain it in a way what it is, right? And they're in their right. But for us, we could take it as a spiritual way of seeing the divine, or connecting to the divine, or understanding the divine, or being the divine. Because once we understand that we are not material, we become one. We become one with what's.
Mic check.
Yeah, and that's what they don't want. And I feel like they create so many polarities where so many people are arguing, so much division, so that we won't come together. Gene, weren't you atheist before coming to this? I mean, didn't you not believe in anything like that? No creator, and then this topic has actually brought you to an
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah, seven. I would say 13, 14 months ago, I considered myself an atheist. And, for me, transitioning from, the heliocentric model and not really knowing much about the geocentric model and starting to learn about the geocentric model, everything just started to solidify piece by piece by piece. First it was the math of the globe, and then it was obviously just observing the sky and realizing how fixed and cyclical everything is. And I was proposed a question. Someone asked me, if you were a betting man and you had $1 million, would you bet that this realm that we're in was created by a random burst of particles and gases and turned into matter? Or would you bet that this was created by intelligent design? And as an atheist, I had to look at myself in the mirror and answer honestly to myself. And if I had $1 million, I would have to bet, wow, intelligent design. So for the next 24 hours, I started to ultimately challenge my other ego, my altered ego. I identified as an atheist, but I just put $1 million bet on intelligent design. And eventually I looked at myself in the mirror and I almost had a flood of emotion. And I said, oh my goodness, oh my God, there actually isn't a creator. This has to be intelligent design. And from that point, I just never looked back. I realized that my purpose is divine. Every single person here has a reason and a course, and we're all reflections of God, So I'm very happy for discovering flat earth because I actually feel complete. I feel in trust with my senses that have always been there, so I'm connected. I feel connected.
Yeah, you
Oh
said
yeah,
that word
brother.
Yeah.
ego.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I was saying, ego, dude. There's, Roundhound. I'm not picking on you, buddy. You're in the chat. He had said aliens are actually more plausible than God or a creator. And that ego gets in so many people's way. It's almost like they autopilot through life and they just kind of coast. And there's a narrative out there, and that narrative is a comfort. So I almost think of it as like there's a lot of people who just they don't venture into truth, into common sense, into reality, and have those difficult discussions with themselves, those moments in the mirror, those separating from, can you unplug from the matrix for 10 minutes just to have a real honest conversation with yourself in the mirror? Ego will get in the way because ego is this autopilot, almost like avatar that you have to play in society nowadays just to feel a part. So the majority are following the narrative. The narrative is, the media's idea, modern science, modern even religion, and all these things. This unit, this matrix that they're plugged into comfortably because they know that the majority, the 90% or whatever, are stuck in that same thing, and they know that if they hold on to that ideology, well, then they're safe. And if they're in a group of 100 people and they ride the narrative, well, they know they're going to be in the majority, and anyone who thinks outside the box like us, we're going to be over here in this corner, the people who are made fun of, or but it's fearful. And I get it that these people that are plugged into the matrix, they're in fear of the unknown, but they're also in fear of being the minority and standing out. But that takes dishonesty. It takes vigorous dishonesty with themselves and willingness to just hold tight to ego and coast along through life. I'm really hoping that the awakening creates some courageous people who are fearless, and they'll decide that common sense, unplugging and actually having those difficult conversations with themselves is actually, it's freedom. Even though now we're no longer in the majority, we no longer live in that comfortable society of the majority following the narrative. Even though there's that disconnect and there will be some loneliness and despair, there's a little bit of a transitional period. But once you break through and have that courage to stand apart from society, then you actually have a sense of freedom that surpasses any other feeling, and it's better than being in the big crowd. Now you're off in a little bit of a smaller group of people, but knowing that you're actually free and helping free the rest of these imprisoned society.
Absolutely, brother. What we think that what we are, and if we think that we live on a globe, you live like that. Everything that relates to that kind of mindset, you really apply to your life, right? We know flat earthers how they apply their knowledge to their life, right? In many things, what happened in 2020 and many things after, right? We know, we see through it. We see through all their red flags, right? Easily, right? Because it helps us. And the other thing is also, they are selling the aliens for a reason, for that the people start doubting their faith of the creator with the divine. Because yeah, I'm more happy with this sci-fi, exploring the world, new worlds, God, what is God? So they, it's one of the part of the reason, as the whole globe model in itself, or the globe theory in itself, is to go against the creator, to go against the light, because you are literally pushing people in darkness when you are pushing them in space, right? Like, go and figure out, you're a piece of dust in this infinite universe, right? And that's why the people are losing it. What the hell are we doing in this world with all the stress and all the rat race and everything mixed together, and the people, that's why it's difficult for the people to find their north and the correct way, because they don't know the right cosmology, right?
Yeah, beautifully
That's the
said, man.
heliopsychosis,
Absolutely.
bro.
Absolutely.
Here's what I found.
What'd you find,
All that
Siri?
stuff you explained really explains how this stuff, it leaches out into society and it shows up in all kinds of different ways with their behaviors. It's all a big litmus test, and the more they get cheered on by these people, they know exactly what to get away with tomorrow. And they already have it set up 3 different ways. So to know, it's all like Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, solution. Not always like problem, but it falls under the same umbrella.
Yeah, and I don't want to get anything shut down, but so the C-19 thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Exactly.
yeah.
So remember when that first kicked off, and that was a big awakening for a lot of people. And when it started out, you had the news, the narrative, and all this stuff that was pushing, their agenda, and you're kind of going through the motions and everything. But then out in society, you would run into more people, and then as time went along, you ran into more and more people that smelled the BS. They woke up from that nightmare, and they realized that the truth of what's really going on, or better yet, of what's not going on, type of thing. So I'm feeling like 2024 is going to be like that for Flat Earth. Now, Flat Earth's had some huge waves. It's had some really awesome explosions, but like 2024, I feel like it's going to be 2023 was a good year too for exposure, as far as Flat Earth getting out in the front on some platforms, and getting out in front of people. But I'm thinking here soon, it's going to be where we can walk about and maybe wear like our shirt, like the host, man, wearing that just shirt that just says Flat Earth, and walking around and having people, regular people like you and me, just walk up and be like, "Hey, man, I'm Flat Earth too. What's up?" And it'll be growing to the point where, shoot, maybe even a 50-50 thing. I mean, how many Flat Earthers do you think there are right now? I don't know, but I know that the hashtag on TikTok alone had 5.8 billion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's just here that's just at TikTok. Like, I'm wondering what hashtag Flat Earth overall across every platform. I wonder how many hits hashtag Flat Earth has. Billions.
They could only hide it for so long. Consumer technology is surpassing the globe. We're buying high powered cameras, infrared filters. I mean, it's just starting to evolve and change. It's at a pace that they just can't keep up with it anymore. We're
Exactly.
contrasting exactly how we're doing right now, and this is where, Seven gets his followers and his fan base. He's articulate, he's to the point, he's consistent about the knowledge that he's digging into and sharing. And it's awesome to see it blossom, to have this many people that come back for more information from Seven. He's just a pocket full of information. It's fantastic to be able to witness. And I envy him. I look to be able to share as much information as I can. I've had a few debates myself, but I've learned some things. I've been wrong about some things, but I think that's the beauty of it, having the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Be able to learn more.
Exactly. The more we expand and the more we dig, the more idea we have. When we question things, even ourselves, we get more truth. That's how it goes, right? And as you guys say, like also one of my friend was saying, right? Even if the people want or no, flat Earth is coming in the face. Same way they're showing us all the bullshit. Even if we want to see or no, the same thing is happening with flat Earth. There it is, right? Amazing.
Gene, you're
Amazing.
too kind, man. You're too kind, bro. You're very humble, and I look at you as a superstar in my eyes, man. You're killing it out here, and everybody that's doing something for Flat Earth right now, dude. I'm so impressed with. I'm impressed with what's going on over here on YouTube. I'm impressed what's going on over on TikTok. I'm impressed for your channel host on Facebook, man. You got thousands and thousands of followers on Facebook, man, and that was a hard platform for me. Facebook, yeah. It was tough for me, man. I went over to TikTok though. That's where I thrive, but you're thriving real good on Facebook, man. And to me, that's a hard place to grow Flat Earth. But
it's one of the most difficult, brother.
Yes.
It's one of the most difficult to grow. Because they change the algorithm every time, brother. That's why even if I might have 30,000+ subscribers, but the videos are reaching millions. That's the best part I like about it's a different way of sharing, and I'm happy. I don't pretend that I'm gonna want to be everywhere the same. The time we spend and the effort we put, but they all try to suppress it everywhere because the same thing could be 20, 30. Million instead of 2 million or 1 million, right? So they cannot control the information, right? But there are people want it. A lot of people are waking up, as you say, in TikTok, in Facebook, in Instagram, and the time is come that the people need to see what options they have. And what we are doing in a way is like this, right? At least the people will have something to compare with, right? You have something to compare where you can make a decision, right? If everything is just one-sided and it's all the information, even if it's true or not, it's the people, there is nothing. So maybe now, maybe in the future, right? Who knows? In maybe in other generations, people will and gonna look, and maybe it helps to find their way through.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Indeed.
You guys, we were talking about the sun before, and I thought of something last week. Does anybody know? Do they have a calculation for when hydrogen and helium start to form gravity?
Right.
Is there a formula for that? Right?
Bro, good point. That's a great point.
It probably has something to do with refraction, I'm sure.
But
right, man.
There's a lot of that going on out there.
Think about this, dude. And just like Gene was talking about with that man in the mirror conversation, and I think that's what people need, Globers need to have about gravity, man. Have that man in the mirror discussion with yourself about gravity. Because when you think about this, if you break down the theory of gravity. And most people don't know because, you know, you go to school, you learn, hey, mass attracts mass, and they put that in their pocket and they go live with it. But it's you know, you find out Newton's theory is thrown out and replaced by Einstein's. Then you find out about the theory of relativity, which is the bending and warping of space-time. Dude, look, if you have that conversation,
dark matter.
yeah, it's all so ludicrous. But when you have that conversation, you break it down into its pieces, you know, space, time, right? You break it down in its parts. And the definition of space time is it's the concept of three-dimensional space, which is literally just an area in which something could exist, but it's not in this case. It's literally just three-dimensional space mixed with time, which time is just a human construct developed off of the sundial. It's the position of the sun relative to the observer. So you got now space, now time, and now regarded as fused in a four-dimensional continuum. So now all of a sudden there's a spatial and directional dimension that doesn't even exist, because we have the three, right? Forward, backwards, up, down, side to side. That's three-dimensional space. So now you're saying that these two intangible things are working together as a fabric, as a tangible fabric in a four-dimensional continuum, in the fourth dimension, so a dimension that doesn't even exist. So when Einstein came up with this theory, he knew that it was not falsifiable, let alone verifiable. He knew that it was made out of concepts that are all three intangible and non-existent. So if you form a theory out of imagination land, then it's going to remain a theory until it's replaced with the scientific method. And I truly believe that that's what Austin Whitsett's theory of, well, it's not even a theory. It's a provable, scalable, repeatable, testable experiment with electrostatics. So I don't see how Globers don't have that conversation with themselves about space-time, break it down by definition, find out that no, the fourth dimension does not exist, and no, space is not a tangible thing, no, time is not a tangible thing. Right. And it debunks itself through definition.
It does, right? And you know, when they show that in a demonstration, it still shows the big gravity push from the big ball in the center, from one dimension, from straight down. It doesn't show it from all different dimensions. So when they roll that ball around and it goes into the center of like a trampoline, that's still not enough there to really recreate what they're talking about, because that would be being pulled in from all directions, not just one.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very empty animation to try to describe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it could just be also just air pressure from the top. Like imagine a dome which has been injected with oxygen and everything is just like sticking to the ground, right? And maybe I'm just saying it's like that, you know, maybe we are speculating, like, so that's why when the birds fly, they need to flap their wings. The plane needs to fly through that, right? Oxygen. So maybe it's just the pressure of that oxygen that is pushing us down. Just maybe, right?
Well, you know what? That's a good point, Vika, because, you know, like if you get a bubble trapped in glue and it dries and you pop the top of the bubble, it's also concave. So there is pressure in there pushing down. So there's possibility that, and it could be possibly replicated in something as simple as that.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought, actually. And shout out to the TikTok influencer Son of Africa. He does a demonstration. Of course, we're all familiar with this, where you have a bottle that has a a pressure contained cylinder of sorts inside of it. When you squeeze that bottle, the pressure, what happens to that cylinder? It drops. Right. That's a great perspective to even think about. That pressure very well could be obviously giving us a vector, if you will, right?
Exactly, because it could be that in places that could exist, like not, just a hypothesis that instead of oxygen there was hydrogen, right? And maybe we could fly or not, or jump higher, or just there could exist part of the outer realms, right? Just a theory, just a.
We could, if we were less dense, also, like half spirit, half human, maybe something in between. like dream state, you know?
Yeah, that's something to think about too. Wow.
No, because we guys jump into third eye and we go into pineal gland. We cover a lot of stuff. We go, yeah, third eye, brother.
No stone unturned.
Yeah, we do
Gene's
everything.
got
We
his,
discuss.
Gene's got his third eye sunglasses.
So when I mean business, I put these on.
We connect all together the spirituality and the possibilities of different worlds, right?
Hey
And
guys, somebody was saying before about talking to someone else about that, and they said that the 8 inches per mile square was inaccurate, right? And well, I was wondering if were they able to replace it with something that was more accurate, or did they just kind of scoff that off?
That's a complete misunderstanding. It's extremely accurate.
Right, that was my understanding. I thought it was pretty spot on, but you were saying that one of your Globe friends, or someone you got in a conversation with, said that that's not the formula. I was wondering if they had something to replace it with.
Yeah, they have nothing at all. Yeah, any person that says that it does not curve at 8 inches per mile squared, unfortunately, that disassembles their entire model. It has to curve at 8 inches per mile squared,
It does.
or it's not a 24,901 mile ball. It's just simple mathematics. 1 + 1 = 2. 5 × 5 = 25, and 24,901 mile ball has to curve at 8 inches per mile squared. It just goes together.
Right. Somewhere. And think about stuff like this. If you have something like Kansas being pretty much perfectly flat for all those square miles, you have to make up for that somewhere also.
Yeah. And to since we're live, that was my wake up that the earth isn't curved. That was my very first question. So I think that's where I put emphasis on it when I do contrast with people, because for me it was that simple. I didn't really need to go much further once I understood the proper convexity, the proper geometrics. Maybe that's the mechanical part of my mind trying to figure things out. But as soon after that, it went straight to observations and what would apply to this: radar, radio, lighthouses, things to that nature. And it was just time after time after time. I just kept coming across the next thing. And so for me, that was my wake up. And then I guess after that is when I started looking at the sky to confirm, absolutely confirm. Obviously, we are geocentric. So learning 8 inches per mile squared, I learned that it's, when we apply 8 inches per mile squared, it's actually overestimated, because a 24,901 mile ball actually curves at 7.98 inches per mile. So we round up to 8 inches even, because when you write out parabolic equations to include the decimal, you have to do the math on the decimal point too, so it ends up being more math. So to simplify it, we round up to 8 inches per mile squared. That being said, I started to resource everything, from, the Shill website, Flat Earth WS. They say it's only usable up to 100 miles. Well, I contrasted that with Walter Bislin's, which, I hate their advanced Earth's curvature calculator because it's biased, of course. But, that you have to still address proper math. So they have a page that breaks down 8 inches per mile squared, contrasting the parabolic curve to the circular curve. And, once you realize how the math works, you realize that it's actually most accurate at 243 miles, which directly contradicts Flat Earth WS. So for me, that's when I was able to step away from that website. I understood you're putting out propaganda. I'm looking and doing the mathematics, and I see that it's actually most accurate at 243 miles. It's perfect, zero error. It's no longer underestimated. Well, that being said, past 243 miles is really the question. How much error are we looking at here? And we're only looking at 1% error out at 1,388 miles. That's really not that much at all. So the major problem people have with understanding 8 inches per mile squared is, just like we would make a fence, right? If we were to make a fence and we say we were to put a post into the ground, we would put that post into the ground, and then, we would have a string that's probably leveled from point A to point B, but then we would insert the next post, and we would look at our last post to be able to contrast mathematically if this is level. So when it comes to measurements with long distance, well, we're not measuring something 7,000 miles away with one measurement. We're not measuring something 1,000 miles away with one measurement. So that being said, we're just going to measure in a section that's usable for that parabolic equation. That's it. We just need to make sure that we're accurate within its range. And then that being said, we stop there and then we can measure again, and that's where we get perfect mathematics. That's how math works. The more precise, the more detailed you are, the finer the measurement's going to be. So that being said, if we're making any measurement under 243 miles, we're technically making this observation in the favor of the globe. As far as the globe math goes, it's overestimated.
Right.
Yeah. So, again, once I found this out, it was the globe was done. It disappeared right in front of my eyes once I understood the math.
That's great.
Yep.
So even for example, if you watch flat Earth, as we are speaking about 8 inches per mile, if you see the flatten the curve, the aeronautic engineer, he speaks about that this 8 inches per mile curve is not in 3-dimensional; it's in 2-dimensional. Like it's like almost going around the equator. So it's following the equator. So that's what he said. Could be true because it's not going curve or this side or that side. It's just curving around the equator. That's why we have that circles, right? The latitudes of different circles from the North Pole to all the way, to the equator, and to follow the east or follow the west, because we cannot always because once we use the compass and how it shows the south in a different way on where we are and which angle we are from the north, right? So maybe it could also help us to, maybe there is some truth to there, but in a 2-dimensional way for us to map out our equator, that it really shows that it's a flat, and because we cannot just go always straight in a way to go to the east, right? Because there is a point we're going to be heading south.
Yep. Lots of things to consider. You're right. Absolutely.
So it's there in the flatten the curve. So maybe they just took that number, which has some truth to it, and they put it around the globe. What they always do, they do that with everything, right? They paste their fake stuff on the real observations, on real measurements, on real stuff, or like verifiable stuff, right? That's what they do. They even took the flat map and put it on a globe, but the people say, no, the globe Earth map they took and we made it flat. That's why also I wanted to mention, right? The new kids on the block is the globe. The new kid on the block is the globe. They are the one who needs to provide us, because the rest is already is there.
True. 100%, man. 100% true.
They acknowledge that they acknowledge the 3-body problem when the third body can't orbit around the other when there's gravity involved. But they explain the solar system, and how many moons does it have? Like 100?
Right.
Yeah.
So they contradict them. They want everything both ways. As they contradict themselves between science and their pseudoscience.
Yep.
There's some act.
The other thing I wanted to speak about the technologies is genetic. As you were mentioning, brother, the genetic engineering would have been, what they're giving us is also nothing, right? What they might have, in where might they have reached, as you were speaking about the consciousness, they're not giving us real stuff, they're giving the breadcrumbs, because if they give us everything, we would be free, right?
Yeah. We can find clues to stuff.
Over.
We can find clues. Like I've been doing some other patent researching on like electronic harassment, and tools like that. But there's voice to skull technology. You can transmit voices into people's heads, feelings, and the government has this technology.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and there's actually, and the crazy thing is, it's been around since 1974, and there's actually a few court cases out right now of people who have sought out lawyers and actually gotten proof of being targeted individuals of gang stalking, and they took the government to freaking court and won. There's people who's won court cases against gang stalking.
Wow.
And you know, when it comes to that technology, they use your cell phone as the transmission device, and they can transmit things into your neurology, like
Exactly, brother. Yep. You don't see how Facebook and Google works. Now we just need to
Right.
think about products. We don't need to even speak. Now we just need to think about a product, and it shows you the ad on anyone.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Wow.
You know, McDonald's has something where they can make you dream about French fries.
I bet, dude. I
no
would
kidding.
not doubt it.
Swear to
I would
God, I
not
heard
doubt
about
it.
it. I heard about
Wow.
I don't doubt that one bit, dude. Because like I looked into it, and there's a patented, and I have a photograph of it somewhere. But I was doing a Google Patents deep dive one day and was just going in, dude, and looking at so much stuff. But like when they find a targeted individual, dude, they mess with people. Like they'll target somebody and they'll mess with them, like putting voices into their heads. And they can even make them jerk so like if someone's they could like torment
Physically?
somebody, dude.
Wow.
I'm serious. They make like your balls itch in public, or if you're going to take a drink of hot.
I just punch you at the person next to you. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
They can make you spill coffee on yourself, like jerk and hit somebody, maybe
Oh,
touch a girl's butt on an elevator. They can make you do any little
Get
thing they
yourself
want
off the
just
road.
to torment you. And it's just nuts, dude. It's nuts.
Wow.
It's totally possible, brother. Totally possible. We don't know how these devices are doing. Go ahead.
And the funniest one, though, the craziest one, though, is they can actually trigger an orgasm. So you could be anywhere doing anything, and they can trigger an orgasm, dude,
They got the
neurologically.
button.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
every physical happening also has a neurological mapping, right? So they're able to put that into your mind, where into your brain, what happens when you, and then they can force orgasms on people remotely.
That's crazy.
It sounds sci-fi, bro, but this technology is out there.
Yeah. We discussed it also about those, how these AIs are playing with us and how they're going to control. They speak about that. They can literally transmit words in our mind, like as if we are thinking. There are patents about that as you speak, right? It's crazy stuff. So what else they can do apart from all the holograms and what they're really preparing people for something
Future.
crazy, right?
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's the blue beam and everything that they're speaking about. So we know that it's gonna be cheesy, like the 2020 event. It's gonna be same way cheesy, and people are gonna believe it. There are gonna be many divisions. Some are gonna freak out. Some are gonna be, oh, this is real, or and.
We were talking a week or two ago about, I guess it would be Project Bluebeam, but they got such high-tech light devices that they can pick objects up with light. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Pick objects up with light?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I need to look into that.
That's how high-tech they have things. We say a lot, though. Back when I was a kid, in the 80s, we just commonly knew that the military was about, we would say, 50 years advanced than anybody on the street. Anything on the street going on, we'd have no idea. But now it's like, wow, they could be easily, like we said, 1,400 years earlier than anybody on the street right now. And that's no joking. Because we know they're advanced, and everything we have is trickled out through the military.
You're right.
Nothing gets by them.
I want to say the first military artillery type cell phone was actually first used in 1911.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they're hiding from us, brother. Yeah, even the Saloon was more than in 40s or 30s, right? So they already have amazing stuff. Yeah,
And the cables are 120, 130 years old at this
exactly.
point.
Some of the old ones, the copper ones, are really old.
Right. Yeah, they let us know that they're 120 years old. Who knows how old they really are, though?
And
Here's
where they are going. Yeah,
another fun fact for you. We're all familiar with Marconi. He sent his
exactly.
transatlantic signal,
Exactly.
and when was that? 1901, I believe. He sent it 2,135 miles. Well, this is the fun fact that his device was actually on the Titanic, and if his device wasn't used to SOS for help, every single last person on that ship would have perished.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
something really
Wow.
interesting. So I found out later that J.P. Morgan was apparently supposed to be on the Titanic, and of course he supported the banking system that was looking to be implied at the time. Well,
7 guys going there to oppose it.
yeah. So apparently him and his group got off the ship the day before. He was the funder of Marconi's radio system as well, but after the Titanic went down, he pulled funding.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This guy had
By chance.
exactly. This guy had a lot of money. Yeah, and Macroni, that experiment proved that the radio waves uh, travel in a straight line, and nobody can really debunk that, right? And speaking about JP Morgan, just today I saw that JP Morgan was the one who used to say uh, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do astrology. That was JP Morgan who said that. And you know what? He had one of a kind watch that used to predict everything.
Really? Interesting.
Wow.
Holy shit. I just saw one of my friend who uploads my video too sometime. You guys must have seen on TikTok on Flat Earth stuff, right? He uploaded that clip today because we are dealing with the Antikythera mechanism stuff with the documentary, and he posted amazing. JP Morgan, a person with that wealth and that age of time, he wouldn't have it, and many other devices like that. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So, do you guys know who Carol Rosin is? Carol Rosin, have you heard that name?
I don't think so.
Carol Rosin was an associate of Werner von Braun. You guys know Werner von Braun, obviously.
Yes.
He's connected to the flat Earth realm. But she was one of his associates that worked with him. So he died in 1977, but from 74, I think, to 77, she worked alongside Werner von Braun, and now she's a whistleblower, and she's been going around telling of his warnings to society, basically. So,
the alien invasion, right?
Yeah. So, any listeners who don't know who Werner von Braun is, he was a German Nazi scientist that was brought over for the establishment of NASA through Operation Paperclip, a government operation of basically taking all the Nazi scientists from Germany who had technological expertise to help fund or build NASA up. But like he was talking about, I mean, a ton of the predictions that she had made when she was whistleblowing actually have already happened. But she said his final card, what he said anyway about the government, said the final card was a staged false flag extraterrestrial event. And how we knew it was approaching would be the United States government weaponizing space. And what's crazy is we did that in 2019. We got the 6th military branch was announced, Space Force, as the 6th military branch. So that's weaponizing space. But like, that's why I came across that freaking triangular spacecraft. It wasn't flat Earth research. Yeah, it became flat Earth research, but I was actually looking into government UFO crafts because I was like, okay, if they're going to fake an alien invasion, what technology are they going to use? And that's what my deep dive was about. I had a dream about a triangular spacecraft. I had a dream about the freaking end of the world. And I seen that exact craft that I found in my freaking dream. And so I went and looked and found the stupid thing, and it uses electrostatics to fly and all this stuff. So it's like whenever the congressional hearing happened last year, dude, I was like, oh, this is the freaking, I was like, here it comes.
The moment. Yeah. The disclosure. Yeah.
So they're planning to do something, dude. And when they do, You know what I really think? Like, this is my tinfoil hat wearing here, but I think it's a reintroduction of the fallen angels. I think they need to find a way for them to walk among us and do a lot of DNA modification and manipulation. And I think that this fake alien invasion is a way to introduce those ancient angels, those fallen angels, back into society to intermingle and intermix DNA. But that's my opinion. But that's kind of what I think's going on. I don't think they're aliens. I think they're spiritual beings, demonic spiritual beings.
Well, I would agree, bro. I think the real ones could possibly be being reawakened, but there's also Project Bluebeam, and I heard that the chemtrails offer strontium and barium, which are two key components in these super high tech 3D holograms. So there could be a little bit of both.
Oh, dang, bro! I never thought of it like that.
All
Filling the air with
psyops they come at us from 12 different angles, and they want to accomplish 4 things, and they're all multi-level, faceted kind of attacks. Lies sandwiched in between truths, and they're hard to figure out.
Yeah. Right, that's true. That's how they do it. You take a bite of what you think's a truth sandwich, and it's just truth top bread, truth bottom bread, and there's a lie inside of there.
Really?
And speaking about the races, right, could be that even between us humans, there could be different races. Some could be clones, some could be organic, some could be the serpent race, right? How do we are born, right, to the sperm, right? Spermatozoids, what they look like.
Tadpoles. You talking about a little swimmers?
It looks like more snakes, right? Sperm, the word serpent.
Yeah.
So there could be races which are cloned, which depend on technology and more technological stuff for their survival, right? And there could be more organics. There could be more with the.
It could be silica based,
right? It's
just.
Dude, these people coming out from the underground bases, bro, they tell some crazy stories of growing freaking people in test tubes and stuff, or like growing creatures in vats and everything down in the underground bases, like the ones that go 40 levels down and stuff like that.
Well, think about the incubator babies, right? That sounds like, right? Doesn't it? It's almost the same thing, just with different creatures.
Test tube babies.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's 100 years old. They were at all the world fairs in the 1890s and turn of the century. Where'd they get those babies from? Where'd they go? They were for sale. You see old postcards saying, "Oh, you got to get one before they stop selling them." They're awesome. They grow fast. They're like 12 years old in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
As I said, I was the first person who started speaking about saying that Star Wars and Star Trek were this, as I said earlier, that they were ripped off from the ancient cosmologies, right? As I said before, the games. It's amazing because this says a lot that what could possibly exist in these realms, right? The mutants, the different kind of mutants, right? And subdivisions of and genetic mixing, a lot of culture shows mix of humans and animals, and they're not crazy people, right? There are gods which are mix of, or beings or deities, right? Which are mix of humans, and even thought was supposed to be like a mix of a bird and a human, right? So what else? What other types? I think there are many humanoids, but maybe in different forms. But there are could be other variation and mixtures. But I think there are a lot of humanoids, right? And when I was into UFO investigations, the most I found was whichever they had, in the end, they were humanoids. Very few were like the Greys or the other kind, but always it boiled down to humanoids, and it could be that these people could be just other part of the pond or a near pond, right? That they are coming and they dominate the technology, or who the hell know? Maybe it's just the government, right, acting as aliens, right? Who the hell knows, right?
But
I think that's
guys,
what the Peru thing was.
Hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's been ships pinged on GPS 400 miles past where Antarctica supposedly ends, and we've wondered here that if there's portals that open up seasonally, because
Yeah.
it's pretty really far off course past the 80th parallel.
Well, in Enoch, it talks about there's 12 portals around the outer edge of Earth.
See?
And if you look at the Antikythera mechanism, it has 12 sections around the outside rim. And there's, the 12 major constellations. And if there are 12 portals at the end, I wonder if they have to do with the constellation and our astrological stuff.
Maybe they open up during certain alignments.
Yeah, and let in a spirit, and then that's where our who we are. I don't know. It's
or also could be like in the movie Dial of Destiny, they time travel, time travel, right, with the Antikythera mechanism. If you see that movie, did you guys see the movie Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones? It's about Antikythera mechanism, and they are showing it as a time travel device. Yeah, and the best part is it released like we were supposed to release, and this thing came in the middle, and it was about the Antikythera mechanism, and they were showing whatever than its real purpose, right? But it could be that this machine could tell you the future or the past, because it's literally showing you all the ubication of the different planets, the sun and the moon. It could even chart out different things if it had a map below, or combining with other technology. It's quite possible that you could literally see, because they speak about some technology called also chronovisor. Have you heard about that?
No.
No,
Chronovisor, like television, chronovision, right? It was almost like looking in time, putting a date and or a mechanism where you are literally feeding in the dates, and you are literally seeing what's happening on particular place in that time, and you could see in past, present, future. Yeah,
sounds like Project Looking Glass. I've heard of that. There was
could be something similar. Exactly, could be something similar, but relating to it, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
It reminds me of that chemical dicyanin, also that movie They Live was kind of seems to be based about when you sandwich dicyanin between glass, you can see people's aura.
Oh yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah, and seeing beings and seeing UFOs and yeah,
maybe other dimensions even. Well, the aura would be a different dimension, and it's just a matter of our eyes can only see a certain bandwidth of light, and that's really what it boils down to. Very
exactly.
limited.
And the light and the sound and many things that we are limited because of that three-dimensional, right? But as I said, we all are capable of using the 100% of our brain, right? They're telling people that the human brain is capable of 10%, but we all are.
Yeah.
And there are many other superpowers that comes with it, right? Could be remote viewing is one of the things, like out of body experience, astral travel, right? Information, contact, exchange, right? You heard of even scientists like knocking on the astral world for information, for answers, for
Sure.
I don't even remember. There was one guy who even took LSD and he got some answer for something. That I think a Nobel Prize winner he is. I forgot exactly his name.
Cool.
That tapped into that spiritual realm to get that answers, the formula, or that problem that he was having as a scientist. So yeah, guys.
that stuff's got some definite spiritual ties to it. The hallucinogenics, man. I've done some in my past, dude, and I had some real big answers, some questions answered, and some really
Oh,
happened. I actually gotta hop off here, guys.
oh yeah, that we are almost 2 hours. We normally do 2 hours. So yep, we can wrap it up. But this is the thing, guys. Yep, we have lots to discuss, and anti-kitchen mechanism is so much there to expand on it. Expand on it. You find some new finding on that. We come share with us, brothers. And yeah, what I say. Thank you to both of you for being here as our guest today. Our first video podcast of heliopsychosis with the special guest Seven Club and Gene. So awesome, guys. We will have our last thoughts for today, and we're gonna be wrapping up.
Yeah, I'd like to
Who
thank
wants to
both of
go?
you guys for coming on tonight, guys. It was really, really great to have you. Super great to meet you. Both of you guys had some really interesting stories to tell, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories and information. A lot of great stuff, guys. I love the unity in the community that we are definitely creating and finding that more and more people are willing to listen to this type of conversation and get in on it. So, and yeah, bravo. We call our guys warriors. You guys are all warriors out there, and we love you
Oh
all.
yeah, brother. It's
You
great to
know, so
connect always. Yes, brother.
absolutely, guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat. It's great to see you all again. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you both come back sometime soon. We'll continue some other stuff. We leave no stone unturned, guys. So if you got something else, you're always welcome back. And we'll see you soon. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say thank you for having me on. Seven Club. It's always great to see you, my man. It's been a pleasure. For me, I like to finish with this. Keep this in mind that a 24,901 mile ball has the approximate convexity of 8 inches per mile squared, and Earth does not.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Great to have you. Thanks for being here, brother. Whenever you guys want, doors are always open, brother. Thanks for being here. Your last words, Seven.
Cool. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me, dude. This has been an amazing time. It's great to meet this Gene and Gene. It's always a pleasure, man, to kick it with you, my brother. I love you, man. Love all you guys. I really love how the community's going. Love how this conversation went tonight. And absolutely, I'll come back, man. I had an excellent time. And I'm going to go watch I want to watch Flatten the Curve again and The Mechanical Realm. I'm going to go watch that and make sure that I'm brushed up on The Mechanical Realm for next time when if you guys want to have me again, man. It was an honor. Super
Oh
awesome.
yeah, as I said, you guys have this the mechanical RAM, the flatten the curve. You find new findings to that, and you want to discuss. It's always we are there for this, and we need more people who are there who can expand on things and find the pros and cons and how we could do. So it's amazing, brother, because we have and we need to evolve on that. So thank you both of you for being here.
Yeah.
And thanks, Gene, for being here, and thanks everybody for being in the chat here and in our show. If you're first time here, do subscribe, because as I say, we have amazing guests, we have amazing topic, we have more than a year and a half of worth of podcasts in every aspect of flat earth, geocentrism, spirituality, everything we could imagine, all the cosmologies, the science, the rational, everything. Like we do everything, right? So, and we're gonna be doing more. We're gonna be connecting more dots. We're gonna getting in more deeper. We're gonna getting more precise. So, yeah, brother. Thanks, Gene, and thanks Seven Club, and thanks everybody in the chat. Make sure you guys check us out on the next episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host Vikas Razi signing out, guys. See you soon next week. Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.